So there was all this stuff going on with this new office, and it was just, I loved it. And then all of a sudden, my business went dead.
Hello, everyone. Elle is here on the Women of the World Network Choreograph Success podcast with my beautiful friend, Kay. Kay, hello, welcome. I'd love to introduce Kay Hogan. She's a certified fellow worker and Alexander technique teacher and natural vision educator. She has master's degree in education and counseling, specializing in codependency and addictions recovery. Her practice also incorporates her multifaceted training in shiatsu, foot reflexology, yoga, and more. Her movement practice incorporates the Alexander technique, natural vision education, and early developmental movement, which she calls the vestibular sensing system. All of Kay's work is about restructuring the body, calming the nervous system down through body work and movement. She has worked in the healing arts for the past 30 years and has written a book called Upright, Changing Our Thinking about how we stand up and move. It is available through Reasonable Books in Lafayette. She also has a private practice in Pleasant Hill, California, serving all of the Bay Area. Good to see you. Can you tell us, how did this all start for you?
That's a really good question, because even as a child, I wanted to get into some helping, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to do. And I eventually ended up started a nursing training. And it's pretty interesting to me that when things aren't supposed to happen, I had a big traumatic event in a upstate New York mental institution that I was working in. And then I was training as a nurse. And because of that, I knew that there's nothing wrong with medical, but I knew for me, I would never be part of that system. And then I continued to look and I couldn't find anything. I did a master's degree and was working in a television station, but I always wanted to get back to something, to some holistic work. And my company closed, and I ended up with a nice separation package, and ended up becoming a massage therapist. And I went to a school in Akron, Ohio that was run by the Mennonites, which is pretty interesting to have trained with them, actually. And then things snowballed from there. And once I got into where I was supposed to be and the work I was supposed to be doing, everything blossomed. Everything worked. It was just amazing, because up to then, not much in my life was working very well.
Yeah, and as one of your clients, I so appreciate the work you do. And I have to say, I didn't know what Hella or Alexander technique, Hella works or Alexander technique is, until I started working with you. And I definitely feel the difference, because it's not a massage. It's just so different. So I want to kind of tell our listeners, what is that Alexander technique?
Well, I'm going to start with
How do
Hello,
you use? Oh,
because
hello. Yes,
that's
yes,
the body work, and it's an
yes.
offshoot of a technique called Rolfing that was introduced by Ida Rolf originally, and she spent most of her life creating a series of sessions that unwind the whole body. But what we do with our hands is osteopathic, because we go in with our hands and we stretch the fascial layers, and you have more fascia in your body than you have red muscle. And the goal in the 10 sessions that I do is to realign and restructure the body. So everything I do is structural. Everything I do is about getting you back up into the structure. And I use, and Heller work, Joseph Heller studied with Ida Rolf and was the head of the Rolf Institute for many, many years, and then broke off and created, added things to her series. And so that's the structural body work. Alexander is movement. So I teach people how to sit, how to stand, how to move in such a way that they're not collapsing or pulling in on themselves, but actually lengthening and widening for movement. It makes you very strong. And people are always like, how do I get strong? It's like when you start to lengthen and widen the muscles for movement and expand, you end up becoming probably stronger than you have any right to be. But then when I got into the natural vision work, because when I was about 48, I was losing my close vision. And I always knew I was going to do something about that. I just hadn't had time and the energy or the money, and all of a sudden it was all there. And I met an Alexander teacher who incorporated natural vision work. And so I got all of my vision back studying with that teacher. And then I decided to use the early developmental movement, how babies develop vision when they're born, and incorporate it with the Alexander and the natural vision together. And then I got something entirely different and got a much better result. And so I've been doing that work as well. I usually talk about it as Alexander work and then separate and talk about natural vision, but you can't separate vision and the structure. The whole third back of the brain is for vision. So Alexander said, you should lengthen and widen the whole back every time you move. Well, how would you lengthen and widen the back of the head, which is where the structure starts? And you do it through the light, through the eyes, through the retina, through the visual pathway, exciting the visual cortex. And now you have a whole structure. And so I've never been able since then to divide those things, and so.
Yeah, it's amazing. When I heard about the visual results in your clients, when I listened to one of your clients, that
Most
how
people get improvement, but some people actually, like myself, I haven't worn glasses since 1999.
yes, wow,
Anything.
yeah. It's
Yeah.
amazing how we forget how it's all connected, I think, in our body. We
Yeah.
forget. Thank you for doing the work you do. And I know you reminded and educated me on the posture and all even the bags we carry, right? Like
Everything. And there's a lot of that's in
everything.
my book. I wrote a lot of
Yes.
that down. So,
Yes, and how can our listeners, by the way, get a copy of your book? We can
well,
we can put a
on the
link
website,
to the
you
website.
can buy them from me. If you came in to see me, I have them here, but I have it on my website. And so Reasonable Books will sell them, or you can go to Reasonable Books, which is in Lafayette next door to Trader Joe's. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. Yeah.
And we
Well,
should
one.
support them. It's a small, used bookstore. And so we want to support our small bookstores and.
Yeah. We are on Women of the World Network, Choreograph Success. And I think, and I wanted to have this conversation with you because the work that you do and how it's so connected to the body and the things we do every single day. But what is, when you hear choreograph success, what does that mean to you, and how that may be different from what it used to mean to you earlier in your life, if there's a difference?
Well, I saw the word choreograph and I thought, oh, this is so Elle because you
Yeah.
dance. And it's like, so we're talking about choreograph. But for me, it was planning what I wanted. And so each thing that I did led to something else that I wanted to do. And then I have this transition story because, I'm not getting too attached to the plan or,
Mhm.
because choreography evolves and then you see something else and then you see something else and then have this whole thing and you're going, wow, this is like amazing. But, my transition story was living in Cleveland where I worked for 7 years and I lost this office. And so I ended up with this other office that I liked even better. And it had sort of an emotional attachment to me because my father, when I was a kid, had an office there. He had a business and he used to take me with him when I was little. And it's like, so there was all this stuff going on with this new office. And it was just, I loved it. And then all of a sudden, my business went dead. I mean, dead, like dead. I mean,
Mhm.
and I'm in Cleveland and there aren't many of the kind of people who do what I do in Cleveland. I mean, I couldn't figure it out. And then one day, well, wait a minute. I started a business. I could start a business again. I just do everything that I did in the beginning to start my business over again. And then I went, oh, I could do that anywhere. And that's how I got to California because I wanted an Alexander training and there wasn't one in Ohio at the time. That's a transition story of not getting too stuck in,
Mhm.
in the plan. It all unfold and evolve and like find out. And the other kind of funny thing that I'll just throw in there is I met my husband 27 days after I got to California. So
Meant to be. Oh, beautiful. Yes. Yeah, I love that. Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. I wanna do a rapid fire questions section for us right now, is if that's okay. My first question will be your morning ritual or routine that you would
my
like to share with
morning is
us.
very clear because all of my students and all of my clients, I counsel them to get on the floor, and I mean not the bed and not the couch, but to get on the floor for at least 10 minutes with your legs up on a chair, arms here, a little something under your head, never your neck. It always has to be here. First thing I do when I'm out of bed is I'm on the floor. And
Mhm.
then I teach people different movements, and I do these different movements before I start my day. And then, of course, my cat comes and gets me and wants food. And so cat's definitely involved in my morning. I
Yeah.
eat on a food plan, 3 meals a day. So I have a very specific meals that I eat, and I make sure that I eat every morning. That's blood sugar level. And then I'm just figuring out when I start, what time my first student today was 9 o'clock. And
Mhm,
so,
mhm.
I'm ready for her. I had a student, and then I had two students this morning, and then, I've got I'm pretty sure it's hello work this afternoon, but she has a choice. So,
Mhm, mhm,
but in the
mhm.
morning, nobody gets near me until I've been on the floor.
Yeah. And that's what, 10 minutes, right? About
10
5
minutes
more.
and I'll tell you why. So when you're laying on the floor, it lines up the spine. It
Mhm.
also takes the spine deeper into the torso, but the 10 minutes comes from the fact that the liquid in between each of the vertebrae refills. And so it's good during the day to get down on the floor a little bit, especially if you've been up and doing physical work and so forth. But at
Mm.
least 10 minutes and every day. If you do it every once in a while, I don't think you get much out of it, but the floor is really important. And if you read my book, you'll find out that the skin is part of the vestibular system, which is how we stand up. So getting with the skin is really important, and being on the floor helps all that. And then people go, well, can I do long? Do as long as you want, but at least 10 minutes.
At least 10 minutes.
That
Yeah.
10 minutes in there.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know you've shared that with me before,
Yeah.
that practice, and it's such a great. It's easy to. Well, I guess easy to do, not to do, but it's
Oh,
so good.
I'm like, 10 minutes, that's easy. 10 minutes is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and you can listen to things, but you can't like watch TV or be on the phone. Yeah, so, and you want to do it. And then people will run into me and they go, that really works. And I'm like, yeah, I know it really works. The thing is, they go, oh, well, then what do I do? And it's like you leave yourself alone. You lay there and you leave yourself alone. You let everything settle.
Yeah, and I think it's so great because then spend a lot of the time in the day on computers
Right.
and this whole upper and phones and this is the whole postures, and so that helps to realign that. I love that. Thank you for sharing that. One place in the world that shaped you.
Well, I hate to say Cleveland, Ohio. I mean, but that's where I
Why?
got sober. I got
Yeah.
sober in 1984, and I started AA meetings and stayed in the program for about 9 years. And then from
Wow.
I went to Al-Anon, for codependency. And so, my recovery, from alcoholism was in Cleveland, Ohio. So I mean, I'd love to say Paris, other really cool places I've been, but really that was the one. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. Wow. One word that describes a woman you are becoming.
At my age, I'm 76. I kind of feel like I've kind of gotten there, but where I want to go from here is, to continue to do what I've done. So I think a consistency and of course my spiritual path. It's
Yeah.
Yeah, that's like so important. That's the underpinnings of everything for me, actually, is my spiritual path.
Totally
Spirituality,
can understand
connecting,
spiritual.
with a power greater than myself. And
Music, movement, or stillness, or combination of those. What do you
well,
prefer?
definitely movement, obviously. But then the stillness, I crave silence and I don't get enough of it. And so that
Mhm.
part of that morning ritual of being on the floor is just not having any kind of, having some quiet and stillness for myself, because that's what calms my nervous system down. That's what regulates me and gets me back to myself. And then
Yeah.
to step out and have all this like noise, and sometimes it's music, but it's more like noise around me. And in the
Mhm.
technique that I do dialoguing with my clients, and so I'm talking all day with my
Yeah, it's true.
actually,
Mhm.
both. I mean, I do dialoguing, in Heller work. That was one of the differences between Rolfing and Heller work. I have a master's in counseling, and so we do dialoguing when I'm working doing the structural body work. But
Mhm.
then when I'm teaching, I'm talking all the way through with more instructions. So
Yes, yes. Yeah, no, your sessions are amazing because you're not only getting a physical, you're working on the body, but you're also educating me. So
right.
I've learned so much from you. So
Okay.
thank you. One non-negotiable for aligned success.
It would have to be honesty, but trust is such a big issue. That whole trust thing, that's non-negotiable. The minute I feel betrayed or am betrayed
Yeah.
or whatever, it's like we're done. It's like,
Yeah, 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 so true, so true. Um, and if our listeners are just interested in your work, or they interested to work with you, how can they
well, I've
find
got a
more
great website.
information?
Definitely go to my website. It's kayhogan at kayhogan.com.
Okay. Yes.
I'm
Hmm.
always happy to talk to people. Most people want to do things on text, which is fine with me, or emails, but you won't get a long answer. But I'm happy to talk to anybody. I have a lot of resources, and so they definitely can call me and see if there's a fit here or if there's something I can do. And if not, as I say, I have a lot of resources, and so I can usually direct people in the right direction.
Thank you, Kay. And in conclusion and closing,
Yeah.
if there is one thing you want to share with our listeners today, one truth, reminder, invitation.
I think a big deal, tell you the truth, is standing up. In the second session of Heller work, I work on the feet and legs, and that session is called Standing on Your Own 2 Feet. But it has to do with standing on your own 2 feet so that you can reach out and ask people for what you need and what you want so that you can take in as well as, but you've got to be standing on your own 2 feet first. And if you're not, get help. There's lots of help out there. There's all kinds of amazing things out there that would help you to get more centered in yourself. So you're really standing up for yourself and then reaching out for what you need and what you want and expecting it to happen.
I love that. So good. And I love how it's such a great analogy. And it's literally and and
A
um
metaphor for the feet and legs and standing up.
yeah, because we it's also postural for us to be in alignment and standing up physically,
Being alive.
as well as figuratively to
Yeah.
actually be doing things that
Well,
and
I'm going to give a talk in June about how standing up and our physical presence brings us new business. Because when,
Mhm.
the woman I'm going to see this afternoon is super smart, super good at what she does, but she's little. She's small. And so it's really important for her when she walks into a room to really use her structure and her
Mhm.
vision, because vision is really important on how you get people attracted to you and looking at you, and so that she can do what she knows how to do. And
Yes, I love that.
physical presence being small, unimportant. It's people can feel her strength.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
Thank you, Kay, so much for taking the time to speak with
Totally
me
fun.
today.